sir.
Good morning. Good morning. What's so good about it?
That we're here and we're alive
That's
and we're
true.
not in the county coroner's office.
That's true. Okay, good point, Tom. Good morning and welcome to Trade, Commerce, and Tourism Committee. I'm Councilwoman Janice Hahn, and I'm joined by Councilmember Tom LaBonge, who's just glad to be alive.
That's right.
And this is a special committee meeting, so let's get right into it.
Under item 1, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for council approval an ordinance to authorize Los Angeles World Airports to use alternate project delivery methods, specifically those methods known as construction manager at risk and design build, to use the competitive sealed proposal method pursuant to charter requirements. And this is for work on the Tom Bradley International Terminal Reconfiguration Project and the Central Utility Plant Replacement Project, including components of these projects at LAX. The ordinance would establish the criteria for the award of contracts for design, engineering, procurement, pre-construction services, construction, and related services for these two projects, all as required by Charter Section 371B. The CAO has submitted a report recommending approval, subject to the 2/3 vote by council and approval by the mayor, et cetera.
Okay, we're proposing to have a special ordinance, highly unusual. Why should we do this?
All right. Well, we will hopefully set up this discussion, and I want to echo the fact that I'm happy to be alive too, but you guys may tell me exactly how happy I am to be alive. Earlier this year, you all helped us launch this very important program by helping us set up the integrated program management team, the architects and the engineers. This team has been busily working to define the project, and amongst its many attributes, one of them is an unrelenting schedule of delivering at least a few gates to be operational by January of 2012. We are now rapidly approaching, or let's say we should be rapidly approaching, the time to start at least parts of the construction. Today we are here to echo the request of the Board of Airport Commissioners, which is to ask the council to add a couple of tools to the construction toolbox to allow us to actually get this done. And the point that you are making, Madam Chair, is one I think I want to just really land on. This is unusual to ask. Yeah, yes. Trying to stay within my modal purity here. So before I turn this over to Roger, this special meeting and this special ordinance is indeed testimony to the fact that a program of this magnitude and with this kind of a schedule cannot be delivered under a business-as-usual approach. So while we will never undercut or shortcut quality or safety, we will unflinchingly attend to deliberate speed on every step, or we will be unable to deliver the gates by January of 2012. So we are hoping that you will help us have the most robust set of tools in order to be able to match the project needs with the tools available, and I'll let Roger actually be more specific.
Great. I would like to echo, too, while this is unusual, I'm not sure it's highly unusual. This is actually something that LAWA has done in the past. And it is something that other departments in the city, most notably DWP and the Harbor, have done in the past to expedite delivery. We've given to you a PowerPoint presentation. We don't have to go through all of it, but I want to highlight on some of it. And the first page is the schedule. And what we've laid out there is part of the programming exercise that we've been going through with the program manager is to lay out a schedule of all of the projects that are included in the Crossfield Taxiway project, the Bradley West project, and the Central Utility Plant, which is not part of the LAX development program, but was part of a settlement agreement between LAWA and the airports that desperately needs to be done.
LAWA and the airports or airlines?
LAWA and the airlines.
Airlines.
Right, I'm sorry. And the schedule that you see in front of you is actually based on about 2,000 discrete elements that have been put together, looking at how we can deliver the most important project or element of this project that we see as being the Bradley West Gates. The top part of that there is the Bradley West gates, and the top schedule shows a standard design bid build process whereby Fentress, who is the architect of record, would complete the design documents. We would then go out to bid, and then we would hire a construction firm to come in and construct the gates.
And how would this timeline be changed or different if we did not do this?
That the second timeline that you see underneath it is actually using a construction management at risk, or another commonly used term is a general contractor CM approach, where what happens is Fentress continues to do the design. However, we bring a general contractor CM firm on board, and as each bid package is completed, for example, the foundation package is completed, that then goes out to bid, and we start building it before we have 100% of the plans and specs done for a competitive bid package. And as you
So
can
it's more piecemeal.
it is, yeah. I mean, I hate to use the word piecemeal because of my environmental background as well, but it's more sequential in how we bid the job and how we construct the job. And as
It
this,
also puts us way out into,
we cannot deliver the gates by
Right.
January 2012 under a standard design bid
Okay.
build process. It will be impossible for us to meet that January schedule.
okay.
All right?
Anything else?
Well, there's a whole bunch in there, but we can go through it if you've got questions.
I mean,
however you want to go through it.
I mean, I think for me, obviously, this has really been a push thing. I know that's something that I have been really championing is the modernization of this airport. And if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. And we have seen that it's been because of some of the pushing we've done that we were able to have the A380 gates, and we had the successful landing Monday of Qantas. So, I mean, a lot of this is about, I think, pushing, streamlining, making sure that we do it. So I am completely ready to approve this. I know we have a card. I just feel like the Alameda Corridor was certainly built with a design.
Well, part of it, they used the lowest ultimate cost approach. Most of the corridor was done under a standard delivery, but there were elements of it.
There were elements of it. There were definitely elements of it that.
My understanding, yes.
Let me ask, what's the role of the project management team that we approved earlier this year? The Fentress Architects, Hatchmont McDonald. What's the role of them in this whole?
Their role stays exactly
Stays
the
the
same
same.
under this. They are still responsible. Fentress is responsible for the architectural design, the design of the buildings. Hatchmont McDonald is doing the design of the flat work, the ramps, the hydrants, the taxiways, and the utilities. That stays the same. The only difference is we will now bid it out under a different delivery method for certain elements of the project. So I think it's also important to note that we will not be using alternative delivery methods on every element of the project, but on the ones that are really schedule critical, we are proposing the potential to use those alternative delivery methods. So, but their
And-
roles stay the same.
Let me just ask: does the PLA contract remain with this
Yes,
streamlined
absolutely. Yeah.
effort?
There is no impact on the PLA based on the alternative delivery method.
Okay, so how many large gates are we going to have by 2012, and when will the midfield concourse be completed? Just to go on record again.
Well, by January of 2012, we will have at least 2 new large gates if we can utilize a alternate delivery method.
2 more.
At least 2 more,
Okay.
right? Which
Will give
will
us a
meet
total of
4 gates, which
4.
will meet the demand in January 2012 for the new large gates.
And when will the midfield concourse be completed?
We are in the process right now of programming the midfield concourse and working on the design. I do not have a scheduled date yet for when the midfield will be done.
What do you think, Gina Marie?
I think what we're going to need to do is finish the Bradley West project, see what is happening with the traffic and the economy. We need to clear the site. We need to move with all deliberate speed to clear the site and prepare for the midfield concourse. Since we're delivering these parts and pieces in January 2012, mid 2012, and then the core, the Tom Bradley International Terminal core, in mid 2013. I think we're in the late teens for the midfield satellite.
Yeah, well, I obviously would like to see that
In
sped
our
up.
lifetime. No.
Yeah, in our lifetime. I just went back to Denver to see the model, and I feel like the Fentress part is going to be done. I mean, they've obviously are designing it right now.
Well, yeah, they will be designing. They're
Yeah.
certainly designing the
Yeah.
Bradley West to 100% design detail,
Right.
and they are certainly putting the design concept together
Right.
for the midfield
Right.
satellite
And the
for
bridge and the
connectors,
connectors and
and for the central,
Yeah.
what we're calling the central processor.
Right.
But I would be reluctant to specify a specific year because I think there is so much unknown after the Bradley West project is completed. We'll have, let's see,
Well, how many total gates will we
we'll
have?
have 4 A380 gates on the south end, 2 on the north end.
We'll have a total of 8 380 gates when we're done with Bradley West, which meets the projected demand that we've gotten from Airbus.
Right.
It actually more.
How many
than
total
the demand.
gates?
We will continue to run the same number of total gates, but
I
some
mean,
of
the
that will
midfield
be
concourse was adding like 20 gates.
It's quite a few, depending on whether you build the north half or the whole thing.
Yeah.
And which is why I'm not trying to be equivocal, but I am trying to be fully forthcoming that we don't know all the detail yet. So I think it would be premature for me to promise you a specific date because there are too many variables.
And we also do not believe we will be gate constrained when we're done with Bradley. Right now, based on the forecast, we will have sufficient gates when we're done with the Bradley project. We will not have any constraints on the utilization of gates.
Well, I know my colleagues have some questions. I'm certainly willing to enter into this new ordinance, to streamline, to make it more effective, quicker delivery. One of the things I would like to see is maybe an update to this committee. I don't know, every
Annually.
less than annually. Maybe every 3 months, every 4 months.
That's more than annually.
That's what I meant, more than annual. I meant less months than 12.
Got it.
Just because I think one of the things, there is always a concern when we do something like this that we begin to lose oversight and lose any kind of checks and balances and accountability. So, and then I'd also at some point like a little better answer on the midfield concourse. What you guys told me today, I'm not real happy with.
Okay.
I really thought we had a little more specifics on the midfield concourse because we talk about it all the time, and we talk about it a little more concretely than you guys just did. So maybe another report back on where that is and kind of how that's changed since the last time we all kind of talked about it, because that's a little disappointing to hear that.
Well, let me give you another, a little more information on that. You will recall, which is why you are rightfully focusing on the midfield satellite, that was initially how we were going to provide.
No, I know that. I know that. I know
the
things have
gates.
changed, but
Yeah.
I also know that was still part of what we were looking at as the total modernization of LAX. We were also
Yes.
looking at it in terms of concessions. I mean, it sort of was a piece of the modernization that
Absolutely.
that was, I think, significant, and I still think it's significant, even with the rearranging of Bradley West.
It is absolutely
So,
still significant.
yeah.
We're going to get a big concessions wow out of the Bradley West
Right.
project,
Yes, I know that.
and we need to deliver that before I can tell you specifically when we can afford to deliver the midfield satellite.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Mr. Rosendahl, Director Lindsay, and staff. I support this concept. I think it's very important that we focus on this real strongly in order to meet the goals. I also heard the director say the changing world, and I don't think he used that term, but everything that's happened in the last 90 days and more is changing even more. We don't know what is projected. I do think, though, we should be diligent in clearing the site in preparation for it, so we're not wasting time. So I support this. Maybe twice a year, once in January, February, come, and once towards the end of the beginning of the summer. Just see where you are if you wanted 2 reports. The year happens so fast. That's what I'm just saying. I don't want to as other committees that I've run, I've tried to
Yeah.
do things, and whatever the chair suggests. But I
Yeah.
support this, and I think we should move on it.
I
and,
will,
get
yeah,
it.
I agree. I just think we do have a role in this committee, and I know I do, to push. And I think some things actually have gotten done because I've pushed. So I don't want to lose that sense, just to kind of keep everybody accountable on this,
I would
particularly when we're
Right.
sort of giving up what we historically have had as the approval process for a lot of the deliverables.
One of the things I might add, you're not giving up any of the approval process. We will still have to go to our board with any contracts that we're going to let under this. This is not a blanket contracting approval.
Right.
So you will still have the whole process that you have today under a standard design bid build. So that process, that oversight process does not go away.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Two ladies in red, that's great. Same wavelength around.
Yeah, look to your left.
Great.
Look to your left.
Three ladies.
Oh,
in
my
red.
God. Everybody's passionate this morning, and I'm passionate, too.
And we like your red tie.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. A couple of quick questions. Of course, the chair's absolutely right. We want to be around. We want to see these things done. I always ballyhoo the 5 modernization projects, okay? Just to restate it, Tom Bradley Terminal. What's the sense of a status of the entire completion of that? I know we're going different strategies. Do we have a sense right now on the Bradley Terminal?
March of 2013.
That's where we're at right now. Okay.
Correct.
And what about the consolidated rental?
We don't have a schedule on that.
No consolidated rental schedule yet?
We have the feasibility study is underway, taking a look at a couple of different sites and the economic feasibility, and that deliverable, I think, is coming in shortly.
I just reviewed the draft, yes.
Oh, very timely.
What's important for me about the consolidated rental and the people mover, and let me just ask that first before I finish my point. How about the people mover?
Well, the People Mover is still being programmed, but we do not have a delivery date on the People
Okay.
Mover right
The reason
now.
I asked those two projects is as we go forward with Measure R, I hope it passes. You know, I expect monies for the Green Line going to where it needs to go and then heading north, which of course I want to tie in to the People Mover and into the consolidated rental concept. So the sooner we get that sense of coordination and timing, the quicker we can truly say that Green Line. The whole point I pushed for the Green Line was to tie it into the modernization, which includes the People Mover and the consolidated rental.
And that's under the specific plan amendment study process that's underway right now.
Okay.
And we are coordinating with Metro on the Green Line connection.
Okay, and I agree with the chair about Midfield Terminal. I mean, I thought this was a shorter time frame than where we're at now in the teens. So obviously I want to flesh that out and get a better sense of that, okay? The next thing, which is more personal for my Westchester people, are those 3 holes in the golf course. Now, I've been on this council 3 years. I could go with a little piece, with Tommy helping me, I could take a shovel and make 3 holes. It's just no big deal. And we're not there yet. And does anybody have a sense when I can tell Westchester will get those 3 holes so we have that golf course?
I think we're going out with the RFP in December and inviting the successful proposer to do all of the improvements, including the 3 holes. And I don't know. I'm afraid I'd have to do an IOU on that unless you have a more specific.
Well, one of the things that we are doing in order to expedite it is we are getting all of the environmental approvals and the permitting necessary so that when the bidder comes in, the first thing that they can do under the new lease is construct the 3 holes. As part of the new lease, there will be a redevelopment program that will include fixing the rest of the golf course. And they're going to have to do an environmental on that before they can do that. So what we're doing is getting all of the environmental clearance and all of the permits done so that under the proposal, the day that contract is signed, they can start constructing those 3
If
holes.
I could ask, Madam Chair, if we could schedule this officially for a report back on those 3 holes so that I could at least give my...
Please agendize the 3 holes.
Yeah, I mean, that would really help me with the community. Okay.
Yes,
In the
I
same,
agree.
In the same context with that, the community's constantly
You
wanting...
get that, Jenny?
Wanting to know the region, in terms of both DMJM, DIMJM, and Fentress contracts, a request on the status of what are they doing, including the list of tasks completed or underway for each. There's some anecdotal story. What are they really doing? What are they not doing? And people just don't know. So we'd like to get a complete sense of what projects they're involved in, what sensing they have, and report that back to us as well so that we can get some more clarity in the community.
That's great. We're happy to do that. And I would also, I think, want to build anticipation for a mid-November event where we can more tangibly show what has been going on
That would be
and a design
fabulous.
concept.
That would be lovely. And the chair and I can't talk other than the committee, so this is another moment for me to talk about that paparazzi business. The chair will be scheduling that, and my hope is on the 19th at that committee meeting. That's up to her, but the bottom line is that paparazzi is a big issue for me. And I'm going to bring the entertainment industry in and others, and I'd like to really get an understanding how the airport police and others would like to handle it, do handle it, and so on. There's a whole bunch of questions. There's a lot of public interest in that.
We're happy to return here when it's agendized.
When it's agendized. I just
Sure.
wanted to officially get the word out on it. The last question has to do with the Bradley Terminal. I say publicly more than a million times, everybody, as we modernize the airport, when a project is complete, like the $330 million for the runway south, we did it and so on and so forth, those costs then get into the FAA formula. The Congress has been so irresponsible. They've gone through two terms with no reauthorization of the FAA and no access to it. It's all the same politics of bullshit. And my hope is, in the new administration, the new Congress, they will actually deal with how access to airport happens, what monies can be used by airport for that, and so on and so forth. And then the second part of that is my community is very committed to modernization, yes, expansion, no. And in the modernization concept, the moment a formula clicks in, then you can pass those costs on. So then the airlines no longer will see LAX as the cheapest place to go and don't care how long it takes you to get to the gate for their nonstop, direct, frequent, and discounted flights. I want my Ontario, as does the chair and my colleague there, not to be the Maytag man waiting anymore. So do you have any sense in a time frame when those takeoff and landing fees would become more competitive so that Ontario would be, more incented as an airline as you're moving forward? I want to be able to have a sense of it. A year from now, 2 years, 3 years from now, we'll have projects done that might affect that concept of
I'd say
regionalism.
about 2011.
2011.
And here's why. Typically, the costs of terminal projects go into the airline rate base when they take beneficial occupancy of those projects. So the costs, for example, of the Tom Bradley renovation project, when it's completed in 2010, would go in the next year's rate base for the airlines. So that's why I say about 2011. I do want to point out, though, that the Ontario landing fee right now is lower than the LAX landing fee. Now, the all-in cost of operating at Ontario is not lower at LAX, and the reason for that is that we have relatively new terminals at Ontario, and so the airlines are paying for those relatively new terminals where we have old and tired terminals at LAX. So once we start actually reaping the benefits of the investment in LAX, the costs will be part of the airline rate base.
Yeah, which is really music to my ears and to the community's ears, because we truly don't want everything to go into LAX, and neither do the people on the ground. They obviously would like to go nonstop, direct, frequent, discounted flights out of Ontario. So that 2011 is the point, huh? Okay, last thing I have, Madam Chair, if it's okay, I was late.
Could I just ask you one question, Mr. Rosen, on the music to your ears? Would it be more like Simon and Garfunkel and Sounds of Silence, as opposed to that song?
I love that guy. Don't you love him?
Sounds of silence.
He's the man. The overall reason we're here today is to give us tools in our toolbox to do what? I mean, will it make it go quicker, more efficient? I'd like a conclusion on what the chair asked about, what this is all about. I know the chair went to Denver. I'm going to Denver. I'm going to look at it on Monday. I know Mr. Labange might be going too, and we want to move forward with the council on this. Give us
We think it will be both quicker and more efficient.
quicker and more efficient. And how about the transparency and all of those?
No change on transparency, just
Absolutely.
like it would be under design bid build.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other questions? We do have one comment card, Denny Schneider.
Madam Chair.
Oh, wait, no, come some.
Oh, that's,
He's supposed to. Tell him.
Madam Chair, council members, we've talked about this many, many times, and even though I am the largest critic of the airport at times, I also have been in favor of fixing this airport from day one and have spoken in favor of it at every one of the opportunities. And I think this is a particular one that I think you should be following as well. And I'm putting my old programs management hat from when I was working.
You're still
And
working for the people now.
Oh, now I do. Yeah, I work twice as hard now. But I think it's something that needs to be done. The reason that we've always had some of these issues, and I just have to put one little caveat in there, and that is that up to this point, our communications on even some of the green light projects hasn't been as good as it needs to be. And I've talked with, I have more faith in this LAWA management than I've ever had in any of it in 13 years. And so I want to express that out loud. And they're going to get with me, and we're going to continue improving this. But we need to find out that information, as you do, because the reason there is so much hesitancy in the past has been the incremental expansions, where you don't get a total picture of what it is that's happening. And that's where we're coming from. I encourage you to support this project and do it in the same way. These are the things that we've been saying loudly, and similarly with Tibbet, when they came up with the idea of rebuilding it entirely. This is something we've said for the last several years, so we're very pleased with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Denny. We also have Arnold Sachs in public comment.
Sure. Whatever you say. Does Ms. Hahn want to sign it too?
Good morning. I wasn't going to comment on this item because I didn't hear the presentation,
Oh,
although I'd
I'm
like
sorry.
to.
Okay, so then we can
comment on
vote
the-
the item, take it to
Okay,
public
we'll wait.
comment.
Okay, we'll wait.
Okay.
We'll wait. Sorry. Thank you. Because we are going to have this in council this morning. So do I have a motion?
I move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and unanimously will approve this concept of design and build with the report back every 3 months? Every 3 months. Let's try that.
Great.
Let's try that.
Wait.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, now, public comment.
Since yesterday, you should have been at the MTA board meeting for the Roberts Rules of Law argument that they were.
Golly, I heard a little spat went on.
Oh, my goodness. Went to an MTA board, went to a hockey game, a fight and a hockey game broke out. Went to a board meeting, and anyway, I also went to my local regional council of governance meeting last night, and they handed out some information from the MTA, which is the first time I'd seen it, regarding the extension for the Green Line from Aviation Station up to the People Mover, and then west towards Playa del Rey. And they also had some information regarding support of some congressional bills in the state legislation. And one of them was supporting Jenny O. Raposa's bill to put the Green Line on some kind of fast-track construction authority. But what interested me in it was reading the information regarding it, saying that as soon as the funding is available for an EIR, then the project will start moving forward. But in the Transportation Committee meeting, when the city authorized $750,000 for the Green Line Transit Center, it was stated that the EIR had been done for the Green Line.
An
through
old EIR down in 1994.
Question is in the county, when they did the expansion for the
Is this
one of the
before this committee? Are these remarks
landfills.
relevant to this committee?
Well,
No.
it's Green Line.
This committee is not taking that up.
It's Airport Green Line, Oh, excuse me, Robert's
you.
Rules of Law.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else in the public wishing to address us? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
And